Peace, family. I was repeating a story a friend of mine told me about this girl who got fired from her job, said she was self-promoting her personal business. And what happened was she was at work at lunch, and somebody asked her about the meal she was eating. And she said that, she was a caterer. This what she do on the side. Somebody overheard her, somehow got back to management, and next thing you know, they fire her for promoting her personal business on company time. The person I was telling this to, he said, well, does the company have policy against, doing that? And I said, well, let's just say they do. Let's say it's a strict policy against employees coming to work promoting their personal business. It's just mentioning that she's a caterer, that somebody came to her and inquired about. Is that reason for them to exercise this clause? Is that reason for them to fire this woman, separate her from her ability to provide for herself, pay for her home, her health care for her children, just because she says she's a caterer? Then the person who told me this, she works for a retail chain. And she was telling me the other day that the company that she works for came into the office and said that they're going to sever operations in several other states and only focus on their home core, which encompassed about 3 states. Fortunately, she works for the home core, so her job for the moment is safe. So now, what does she do? Do she just thank her lucky stars that she's fortunate enough to have a job, as opposed to the other employees that worked in other states that don't? Or should she now start preparing herself to get a second job or to get a home-based business where she can do something just in case the next time these people walk in there and eliminate all the jobs? Should she be fired for that? If your company is not going to pay you enough money to sustain you, and you work a second job or have a home-based business just to supplement your income, and that's going to be reason for them to terminate you, even if you ever mention that fact on your main job? Or should she just sit back and just, have your knees knocking because you don't know? They don't come in and tell you that things are going bad, things are slow, we're thinking about doing this. They come in there and tell you that we just shut down stores. So what are you supposed to do? But every time a situation like this come up, Black people always try to find some reason to justify these decisions and stay. They don't never say, well, it's time for us to leave. It's time for us to do for ourselves. You just sit back and just thank God that you just one of the lucky ones that just happen to make it. When I hear this, and it frustrates me, and it reminded me of a long time ago. I was watching this story. It was a talk show where it had these women that was stuck in abusive relationships. They were always telling their stories about how, they were suffering from different types of abuse: verbal, physical, mental. And the people in the audience was asking, why do you stay? Why do you stay? It wasn't until one of the women on stage said, I'm so sick and tired of people asking, why do you stay? Why do you stay? Do you want to know why we stay? She said, the reason why we stay is because we know as long as we stay, they're not going to kill us. She said, that's why we stay. Because if we ever leave and they catch us, we know they're going to kill us. And I'm watching this. I'm just as curious as everybody else. I'm saying to myself, well, why do you stay? And when she said that, I was like, that is a poor existence. You stay in this situation because you're too fearful to leave because they'll kill you. This is the same mentality that black people have. White people will sit up there, they'll tell you, you work for us. We have this policy. You work for a private business. These are all the instruments that they use to oppress us. And we have yet to take these same suggestions that they give us, create our own alternative to liberate us. We are just like these battered women who stay in physical, emotional, verbal, abusive relationships just because they're fearful of the outcome. Black people, we stay in abusive situations where we're abused economically, socially, educationally, judicially, industrially, just because we're fearful of the outcome if we ever leave and they catch us, what they're going to do. When I sit back and I think about those women, and I said it was about 4 or 5 women on the panel. And I said, not one of those women deserved to live a life like that. When I sit back and I listen to black people justify the decisions from the job, the decisions from politics, the decisions from the courts, the decisions from the police, and they justify it by staying, I look to my own people and say, this, our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, our fathers, our sons and our daughters, we don't deserve that either.